Right, to this now with the national and provincial elections around the corner. Let's look at the readiness of the IEC for these polls. Now, for example, South Africans living abroad will vote this weekend, and there's about 111 missions around the world. And of course, this, as you know, a lot of people are asking questions. How then do you transport the ballots back into the country post that particular voting process? But also, the deadline is looming if you are to not be voting where you have been registered. And there's also, of course, the counting process, the voting process. Are the provinces ready? So the IEC, of course, even giving that briefing on the state of readiness as well this week. So now let's speak to Mamabolo, who is the IEC's Chief Electoral Officer, who joins us now for Elections Matters, where we bring you all the things you need to know as we're now headed for the May 29th polls. Mr. Mamabolo, thank you so much for your time this evening. South Africans living abroad get their chance to vote this week, starting on Friday. Is it all systems go?
Yes, we're just tying a few loose ends, and which we hope to conclude by the end of business day tomorrow. And then once we've cleared those, then it's all systems go.
Are you able to share with us? What are those?
Well, it's the final training of staff and the last consignments that must be reaching the missions. There is consignments of material and so on, but nothing out of the ordinary.
And also looking at, I mean, for example, the number of South Africans in London, there's a high number there, some 24,000. How are you going to be managing this one?
Well, we have staff from the mission, as well as locally recruited staff, as well as a few people that left to London from here to support colleagues at that mission to enable them to deal with those huge numbers. The planning of the voting center, in other words, the separate voting stations that will be used in that facility has all happened, and people are being prepared. Training happened today, and the final briefing will be happening tomorrow. So they are all geared, they are all excited, and we should have a very exciting day on Saturday and Sunday in London when South Africans come to cast their ballots.
And there's also, of course, I'm sure you've seen people who are raising concerns about how secure will the channel be that will be used to transport the ballots back into South Africa. So let's answer that question then.
No, they will be returned to the country in a secure channel. Seals will be used on those packages. Those seals can be confirmed upon arrival here to prove that there was no interference with that consignment en route. So we've never had a problem of that nature before. We don't anticipate that we would have it for the first time on this occasion.
And of course, when it comes to then, voting day here in South Africa, the 29th, are the provinces ready, would you say, for the millions of South Africans who will be casting their votes?
Provinces are getting ready. We're having a readiness meeting on Tuesday with the provincial management to get the status. But all indications are that work is happening, and the final touches have been made, and we should really be okay by the time we cast the first special votes on the 27th.
And when then it comes to, of course, the counting process, a lot of people sometimes have, questions, and they will say, is it the same staff that is going to be counting in the evening after, the polling station closes, and will they not be tired? So how does it all unfold? Let's try then and answer some of those questions.
Yes. Counting will happen at the station where the votes were cast. And the presiding officer remains the person in charge of the counting process. However, on this occasion, the commission has availed 3 additional staff members who are going to be assisting the presiding officer with the counting process. It doesn't mean the rest of staff are discharged from that responsibility. They are not. But We believe that it is important that you bring fresh hands, fresh mind to assist the presiding officer with the counting effort. This is so because on this occasion, we are counting 50% more ballots than has historically been the case in the elections of national and provincial elections. So we do hope that that investment that we're making by availing this additional counting capacity will lead to a more accurate count, as well as a good quality result slip that will emerge from the counting process.
Pardon me. So all of this is happening in the presence of the party agents as well, I suppose?
Certainly. Counting happens in front of party agents as well as observers who may be present at that voting station. And furthermore, party agents are expected to countersign the result slip to confirm the correctness of their count attributed to their parties at that voting station.
So someone who's saying then tonight as they're watching us that I've got nothing to worry about when it comes into the counting process. So how then do I ensure, because we do hear this in some of the communities when you're speaking to people, they say, but what happens now if somebody gets more than 3 ballots because some claim they would have seen something like that but have no proof in some cases to back it up. So what do you say to someone who says there could be a bongiwe who walks into a voting station, is given 6, ballot papers instead of 3, and then that they also say that is where the corruption happens. What do you say to some of the viewers with these questions?
No, well, that's precisely why you have party agents within the voting station. So party agents have to be vigilant at all times, and they'll be placed such that they can observe even the issuance of ballots to people, so that no one is given more than they need to be given. And if any party agent or observes that happening, they have to raise the alarm there and there, so that a person does not vote more than they are entitled to, and the problem can be dealt with there and there. Because to raise an issue after the person has voted and left the station, there's little that could be done, because we don't even know once the ballots are deposited into the ballots as to which party that voter voted. So, which is why we call on parties to ensure that the party agents are well trained, they are well briefed, they understand their responsibility, because that innovation of party agents, it's in fact a layer of transparency which is necessary to maintain credibility of the process.
And then when we look at, persons living with disabilities, what kind of measures have been put in place to also accommodate them to navigate the stations?
Yeah, certainly. We do have a universal ballot template onto which the ballot paper can be slotted in. And if a person, my apologies.
It's okay. We'll give you a moment. We'll give you a moment there to just get some water, and then we'll be able then to continue with our conversation. Are you okay to continue?
Yes,
okay.
I am.
Go ahead. Go ahead then and tell us what the plans have been made.
No, I was saying that there's a universal ballot template onto which you can deposit the... No, let's take a break rather.
Okay. Let me give you a moment, get some water, and then we'll be able to wrap up our conversation. I mean, this, of course, as you look against the backdrop of, some of the people that, raising concerns to want to know how will the provinces then be able to accommodate the millions of the people who will be coming, to also cast their votes. But at the same time, you think about persons who are living with disabilities. Where are they in this particular process? How will they be accommodated when they go to the different voting stations? At the same time, South Africans who are living abroad are going to be getting their chance to be able to vote this particular weekend. So that is a process that is also being monitored very, very closely. About 111 of the foreign missions across the world that are going to then be housing different South Africans who will be casting their votes. And then you heard about how secure that process is going to be when the ballots then come back into the country. And I do understand that Mr. Mamabolo is joining us back now. I do hope that you were able to get a glass of water. Let's continue then talk about some of the plans that are put in place for people who are living with disabilities.
No, thanks, Bonge. Yeah, people living with disability, we do have a universal ballot template onto which can be slotted a ballot paper. So if a person is able to read Braille, then they can independently vote without seeking anyone's assistance. But it's not just for people with visual impairments. If you don't have a steady hand and those types of things, you can request the use of the universal ballot template. It's not a Braille ballot necessarily, but it's a Braille template allowing people who can read Braille to use without reference to assistance. And of course, if there's still a significant proportion of people with visual impairments who are unfortunately unable to read Braille, and as a result, those people can bring the person they trust from home who's 18 years and older to assist them with the voting process. Yep.
And there's, of course, as we end off then our conversation tonight, another deadline that is looming, and this is for people who are not going to be voting where they are registered. Let's talk about that as we end off.
Yes, I think the general rule in election management is that a person votes where they are registered, because the supplies, the planning is predicated on them being at that voting station. But life does happen. It may well be that on election day, because of some emergency, you are not in the voting district in which you are registered and so on. However, we now need to know who are those people who are going to be voting outside the station where they are registered, because they need to serve prior notice on the commission that I'm registered here in Gauteng, but I'll be in Cape Town on election day. And once they serve that notice, we are able to make arrangements for them to vote in Cape Town. So that process closes on Friday at 5 o'clock. So we want to urge South Africans who know that they will not be in their voting station to utilize this unique opportunity to notify us of their intended absence from their voting station and where they wish to vote on the 29th of May.
All right. Thank you so much for that update and for just helping the viewers also understand some of the issues there that unfold as we now, well on our way to May 29th, and that is when South Africa decides. And of course, the elections there to be held on the 29th of May. But remember, there's also special votes in the process. There's also South Africans who are voting abroad, who are living abroad, in fact, who will be voting this particular weekend. So that was Mamabolo, IEC's Chief Electoral Officer.